half light, a slow hum under the silence. Shadows stretch across the floor, as if they're listening before you do. You made it here, and that already tells a story. Not everyone dares to stand where the lights flicker and the truth refuses to behave. You, yes you, stepped into a room that feels slightly wrong, slightly electric, like a secret wasn't locked tightly enough. A whisper leaks through the smoke, a message meant for someone else, and your name echoes where it shouldn't exist. The camera moves closer, slow zoom, breath steady, eyes adjusting to the gray between darkness and clarity. No chaos here, only precision hiding inside mystery. No noise, only strategy waiting behind silence. You feel it, don't you? That quiet realization that you weren't supposed to hear this. But now you cannot unhear it. The air thickens. Anticipation taps against your ribs. Curiosity turns into a pulse you can't switch off. Because the message isn't random, it's selective. And somehow it found you. Shadows lean closer as if they recognize something inside you that you tried to keep invisible. Half a smile appears, not to mock, but to acknowledge the courage it takes to listen when the truth isn't comfortable. You don't need to panic, you need to observe. Because observation is the first weapon of the calm mind. Every second here sharpens perception. Every pause teaches restraint. Every silence trains awareness, and awareness, that's where the real power begins. A faint echo. Tension rises just enough to make your shoulders tighten, then releases. You are trained to fear the dark, but the dark is simply information with the volume turned down. Most people run from quiet rooms. You walked in and waited for your eyes to adjust. That's different. That's rare. And rare things are unpredictable. Unpredictable things shift rooms without raising their voice. You've been underestimated, dismissed, labeled as background noise in someone else's highlight reel. But listen carefully, because the rules you learned were designed for people who never question the script. You started questioning, and questioning is the crack where transformation begins leaking through. Every uncomfortable moment you survived, every stare, every silent judgment, became data you didn't realize you were collecting. Data becomes strategy. Strategy becomes movement. Movement becomes presence. And presence bends the energy of every room you enter. Shadows ripple. Tension builds again, a subtle heartbeat under the words. Silence is a weapon. Not because it hides weakness, but because it forces others to reveal themselves first. Calm is armor, not because it blocks pain, but because it turns chaos into predictable patterns. The beast steps back before precision, not to retreat, but to calculate angles nobody else notices. You are told to react instantly, to prove yourself loudly, to chase approval like oxygen. But you learned something darker, something sharper, the power of delay, the pause before response, the moment where emotion dissolves into clarity, the space where others lose control and you gain perspective. They call it cold. You call it focus. They call it strange. You call it evolution, because you discovered a secret most people fear. Unpredictability isn't madness. It's a strategy wrapped in patience. A slow inhale. Camera tightens. Eyes locked forward. You remember the nights when doubt felt louder than hope, when your own thoughts tried to sabotage your momentum, when the world felt like a hallway with no exit signs. Those moments weren't curses. They were training simulations disguised as chaos. Every time you stood still instead of collapsing, you upgraded your internal compass. Every time you listened instead of arguing, you mapped. Every time you chose growth over comfort, You rewrote the narrative others assumed you'd obey forever. And somewhere between exhaustion and resilience, you realized something terrifying. You don't need permission to evolve. That realization, that silent rebellion, that internal shift, it scares people who rely on your predictability. Tension spikes, then melts into controlled intensity. Rule: never confuse noise with power. The loudest voice in the room is often hiding the smallest strategy. Mindset shift: stop chasing validation, start collecting information, because information is leverage. Principle: move with calm precision, because chaos reveals itself when faced with patience. Smoke curls upward, footsteps echo. A low laugh that sounds more like recognition than mockery. You thought transformation would feel heroic, dramatic, obvious. But real change moves quietly, like a shadow adjusting its shape before sunrise. It doesn't announce itself. It accumulates, layer by layer, decision by decision, until one day, the version of you they remember no longer exists. And that's when they start whispering, asking what changed, trying to decode the silence you now carry like a shield, because they sense control. Not the loud control that demands attention, but the quiet control that commands presence without effort. You don't chase rooms anymore. Rooms notice you. You don't argue for respect. Your consistency forces recognition. You don't react to chaos. You study it, redirect it, use it as a mirror that exposes hidden weaknesses around you. Heartbeat quickens, then steadies. A pattern interrupt, a sudden stillness. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine standing in a corridor filled with flickering lights. Every door labeled with a version of you that almost gave up. You walk past them, one by one, acknowledging the fear, the doubt, the frustration, but you keep moving. Because the version of you walking now isn't fragile. It's refined through silence, through observation, through moments when nobody applauded your growth. That's the real secret. Transformation happens when nobody is watching. Dominance appears when you no longer need to prove it. Camera circles slowly, shadows stretch, tension rises again. They expected predictability. You developed pattern awareness. They expected reaction. You cultivated response. They expected noise. You mastered strategic quiet. And strategic quiet terrifies people who rely on emotional chaos to maintain control. You learn to smile without revealing plans, to listen without surrendering power, to step back without losing momentum. Because the beast steps back before precision, not to disappear, but to align every move with purpose. A sharp pause, breath held, then released. Every scar you carry is an encrypted lesson. Every setback is a disguised rehearsal. Every silence you endured was an opportunity to study human behavior without distraction. You became a student of tension, a collector of micro-expressions, a strategist who reads rooms before speaking, and slowly, quietly, without fanfare. Your presence shifted from overlooked to undeniable, not through chaos, but through controlled unpredictability, not through rage, but through disciplined calm, not through domination of others, but through mastery of self. Slow zoom, shadows narrow, voice lowers but intensifies. Remember this: calm is armor, silence is a weapon, unpredictability is leverage. Your greatest advantage isn't force, it's awareness sharpened by patience. When others rush, you observe. When others panic, you analyze. When others chase attention, you build influence beneath the surface. And beneath that surface, the real transformation continues. Quiet, relentless, evolving, adapting, recalibrating, waiting for the exact moment when precision turns potential. Silently beneath every heartbeat, and the corridor ahead stretches longer, darker, more revealing, every shadow carrying another lesson, every pause revealing another truth, every breath becoming steadier, colder, more focused, the rhythm tightening, the silence growing heavier, the presence becoming sharper, more calculated, more deliberate. The camera drifting closer, closer, closer. The camera drifts even closer until the silence itself feels like it's watching you back. Every movement slowed, every breath measured, the room shrinking into a tunnel of focus where distraction has no oxygen. You start noticing details you ignored before. The way people reveal fear through forced confidence. The way fake certainty trembles under sustained calm. The way rooms shift when someone stops performing and starts observing, and you, without announcing it, became that observer. The one who studies patterns instead of chasing applause. The one who hears the truth hidden between words. The one who senses tension long before it becomes visible chaos. A faint flicker of light, tension lifts, then coils again. You once believed power meant being louder, faster, more dramatic, but real power walks slowly, listens deeply, and moves only when precision is guaranteed. Silence is a weapon, because it forces others to fill the void with their true intentions. Calm is armor, because it absorbs chaos without absorbing confusion. The beast steps back before precision, not to hesitate, but to calculate angles invisible to rushed minds. Your transformation didn't arrive with fireworks. It arrived in quiet decisions nobody noticed. Choosing restraint over reaction, choosing strategy over impulse, choosing patience over the illusion of urgency. Every moment you held back a response. You gathered leverage. Every time you watched instead of arguing, you mapped weaknesses. Every time you refined instead of complaining, you sharpened presence. Slow footsteps echo, heartbeat syncing with the rhythm of the words. There's a moment, a precise psychological threshold, when you realize you're no longer reacting to the world. You're interpreting it, restructuring it, understanding it as a chessboard rather than a battlefield. That moment is invisible, but irreversible, because once awareness deepens, old distractions lose their grip. Once you recognize patterns, manipulation becomes predictable. Once you master emotional timing, unpredictability becomes your quiet advantage. You remember the versions of yourself who craved validation, who felt the sting of being overlooked, who doubted their ability to command space without noise. Those versions weren't weaknesses, they were raw material, and raw material becomes precision when shaped by discipline. Pattern interrupt, sudden stillness. The sound fades, a whisper cuts through the quiet. Rule: never reveal your entire strategy in a room addicted to quick judgments. Mindset shift: treat every interaction as information, not affirmation. Principle: refine your internal world until external chaos loses its authority. A slow exhale. Tension returns stronger. Shadows moving like silent witnesses. You begin to notice something unsettling. The more grounded you become, the more unpredictable you appear to those who relied on your old patterns. They search for reactions. They wait for emotional explosions. They try to provoke the version of you that no longer exists. And when nothing happens, when your calm remains unshaken, confusion spreads like fog. That confusion is not cruelty. It's the natural response to evolution. Because calm is armor, and armor changes how people approach you. Because silence is a weapon, and weapons reshape conversation. Camera tilts, revealing more corridor, more doors, more shadows, whispering lessons. You walk past old fears like abandoned costumes, each one reminding you how far discipline carried you beyond comfort. The fear of judgment replaced by self-direction, the fear of failure replaced by strategic experimentation, the fear of invisibility replaced by intentional presence. And presence, real presence, is not loud, not theatrical, not desperate. It is steady, grounded, undeniable without demanding attention. It changes how people speak around you, how they reveal their motives, how they adjust their tone without understanding why. Because your energy stopped chasing approval and started commanding awareness. Heartbeat intensifies, tension peaks, then fractures into clarity. There comes a point when transformation crosses into dominance, not dominance over others, but dominance over impulse, over fear, over the reflex to react without thinking. You notice it in the pauses, in the controlled expressions, in the deliberate steps that feel slower, yet more decisive. The world starts responding differently, not because you forced it, but because you changed the rhythm you move within. Silence is a weapon, used not to intimidate, but to invite revelation. Calm is armor, worn not to isolate, but to maintain clarity under pressure. The beast steps back before precision, reminding you that patience multiplies impact. A flicker, shadows pulse, tension cycling again. You begin to sense opportunities hidden inside discomfort, conversations that reveal alliances, conflicts that expose hidden truths, moments where restraint turns potential chaos into strategic advantage. And you realize something almost unsettling. You're no longer afraid of uncertainty. You're curious about it. You analyze it. You reshape it through awareness. The room shifts again. Walls feel closer, not to trap you, but to sharpen your focus. Every sound amplified, every gesture magnified, every silence heavier with meaning. You observe micro-expressions, subtle hesitations, the way confidence fractures when faced with unwavering calm. You notice how quickly people reveal themselves when they expect reactions that never arrive. Voice lowers, tension thickens, camera almost at eye level. Rule: your reaction time determines your strategic power. Slower emotions, faster clarity. Mindset shift: treat unpredictability as discipline, not chaos. Principle: refine perception until manipulation becomes transparent. Smoke curls around the words. Slow rhythmic tapping echoes like a clock that forgot time. You're not the same person who entered this corridor, and yet no dramatic announcement marks the change. Only a deeper stillness, a sharper gaze, a steadier pulse. You don't chase control. You embody control through presence. You don't fear tension. You use tension to refine focus. You don't run from darkness. You interpret it as compressed information waiting to be decoded. The message keeps unfolding, revealing layers beneath layers, truths hidden inside metaphors, lessons embedded inside silence. You walk deeper, noticing that every shadow reflects an old limitation dissolving behind you. Every echo carries a reminder that transformation is continuous, not a single moment, but a series of calculated evolutions. Camera draws closer, tension coiling tighter, rhythm accelerating slightly. And as you move forward, your awareness expands beyond reaction, beyond expectation, beyond the need for approval, into a space where strategy feels natural, where calm feels instinctive, where unpredictability becomes a signature rather than a defense. Footsteps slowing, breath steadying, silence thickening again, the corridor stretching further, more doors appearing, more lessons